I've been here since 2013, and the very first bill that we voted on really for floor action in 2013.
Just a minute, Representative. Mr. Speaker, I'm having a hard time hearing the lady.
Thank you. So when I showed up in 2013, one of the first bills we voted on was the supplemental spending plan. Same thing with 2014, same thing with 2015. And I'm a little bit concerned that when this bill has just been dropped at about 2 o'clock today, 2:30, and nobody has had time to really vet it. And I'm hearing from leaders in my side, staff leaders, that essentially that perhaps there's $2.7 billion that won't be taken care of and may need a supplemental appropriation. Could you speak to that, or do you know anything about that?
I've never been approached by your staff or shown any document about it. I'm not sure how I would respond.
Well, I believe it's bills that are sitting at agencies that can't be moved forward, and that they're going to be out those.
Okay.
That information.
Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to be sure I explained this correctly. I consulted with our budget director. There are not specific appropriations for those costs in our legislation. However, there is language that would allow agencies to use the current appropriations for prior year costs, which would include FY17 at this point.
Well, then, how does that? What's the balance then on the budget? We just did the spend. What's the balance on the budget if you're going to include those? Were those included in your revenue that you just passed? Was that money included?
Representative, those would be past appropriations. They go to the comptroller's office where it becomes a question then of available cash, which is why we're so urgently looking for ways to do borrowing or other mechanisms to pay the backlog of old bills.
Okay, so even the revenue bill that we just passed, your revenue bill didn't deal with anything for back bills. And your budget right now, as far as we can tell, doesn't deal with back bills at all. Is that correct?
The amount that is the balance at the end of our plan, Representative, which is just want to be sure I'm giving you the right number. We have a lot of charts, as I'm sure you do.
Well, okay, my guess.
Here I have it. I'm
okay,
going
you
to
got
read
it. Okay, what's your total number there?
$355 million.
$355 million for what?
Surplus.
Your surplus. You have a surplus here?
Yes, ma'am.
And but still in your budget, as far as we can tell, there's nothing in there for back bills. Are you dealing with that separately?
Back bills go to the controller, and those become a cash flow issue, which is the object of the borrowing in Senate Bill 42. And as we discussed,
okay, so there's another bill that's going to deal with back bills and borrowing. Is that correct?
There are numerous strategies that the negotiators, Mr. Demmer, Ms. Belloc, and myself, along with the Senate, Republicans and Democrats, talked about taking some of the ideas from the Republican plan, which we all found to be very advantageous as far as flexibility for interfund borrowing and some sweeps, a bond issue to pay down the indebtedness on the backlog of bills, which are accruing 12% interest, and using the balance from this year's budget surplus to as a portion of the debt service.
Listen, I appreciate your attempt to explain this to the public in this open debate, but the truth is it's hard to explain a 638-page bill that just got dropped about 2 hours, well, 4 hours ago. I've lost track of time. I mean, I don't think anybody can explain that. And like I said before, the first 3 years where we were dealing with budgets, every single year we came back. The first thing we did was a supplemental because the budget wasn't done right. Something had been missed. And to just go ahead and vote on this when people don't know what's actually in it, I think is a problem. And so I would just say, this is not a finished product, and we should vote no.